Welcome back, everybody. In today's episode, we are going to spend time talking about unlocking tactics and performance using data in cricket. I'm super excited today because it's our first of kind. We are joined today by a data legend from ESPN Cricket Info, and he was also lucky to be part of 2016 West Indies winning T20 championship, Gaurav Sundararaman. Welcome to our show, Gaurav.
Thanks a lot for having me, guys. Pleasure.
Excellent, excellent. So, data market in sports overall is growing, Gaurav, and it has revolutionized highest price players. For example, franchises are using data to look at their performance, which might overvalue or undervalue them in auctions and things like that. So, one, talk us through your journey as to how you ended up in data analytics and eventually into cricket and through your career, please.
I didn't have any prior data analytics experience before cricket. My first data analytics job was in cricket. But before that, my story is a bit. I've told this at many places. It's a very random, lucky, be there at the right time at the right place kind of story. So like most of us in India, growing up in India, I was a big cricket fan, and I've been watching all kinds of matches, and not only cricket. Used to watch all sports pretty regularly. I have an elder brother who's in Sacramento, who's was obviously played a bigger role. Whatever he used to do, I used to do. So he used to watch a lot of cricket. So and all sports. And then because we were two brothers, we used to play a lot. We used to replicate whatever happens in the matches while playing outside our house. We just grew up watching so much sport uh, that just came into my subconscious mind, the way I started watching sport. And one thing I keep telling a lot of people, one of my biggest strengths is visual memory. So if I watch something, I'm able to remember that. If you ask me what happened um in the 90s and 2000, somehow I remember that much more than what happened even the last week or last month. So somehow cricket visual memory, I'm sure it happens to a lot of us in topics which we are really passionate about. So yeah, and I've just been following sport for a long time. I did my engineering, I did my MBA. At every juncture in my life, after every potential degree, I applied to Cricinfo actually, because that was the only website in cricket that time. And obviously, any guy growing up in India would want to get into Cricinfo, right? So there weren't many sports jobs as well while I was graduating, while I was studying. So uh, yeah, so then one led to another. I was constantly following stuff, and then in 2012, like I said, I was working in a really boring job at Wipro, where I had no idea what I was doing. Every day they used to be ask me to do some presentation. I used to come, I used to Google stuff, I used to search for things, put things together, and then I used to present it, and they used to find 10, 15 mistakes, ask me to change. And then I realized that, look, the domain was not my strength. If you're good at your domain, then you can do most of your jobs. And I realized that whatever you try to take from the internet, put it together, you can never reach the stage of an actual domain specialist. And that's something that was a great learning in Wipro, which I got, because every day was a struggle, and I didn't like that a lot. I knew I couldn't last that somewhere, so I thought, okay, my strength is product management and stuff. That is something I used to like. So I was looking at product management, and then suddenly an ad came in the paper which said Sachin and Sehwag have invested in a analytics company in Chennai. And I was like, hey, this is like 15 minutes from my house, and I didn't even know that there's something like this all these years. And then I went to my dear old friend Mark Zuckerberg in Facebook and searched the CEO's name, found some connections, wrote to them, and then one thing led to another, and I got that job. So. Yes, obviously, I had to go to a lot of sacrifices. If people are listening in terms of getting a career in sports, one of the biggest sacrifices was financially. I had to take more than a 200, 300% pay cut, which is not easy this day and age generally. So, like uh, moving from a IT job or to moving from a consulting job actually at Wipro to analytics was something new. But again, like I said, every day from 2012, So 2012 to 2016, I was in this company called Sports Mechanics, and in Chennai, which worked with the Indian cricket team. Even now, they work with the Indian cricket team with respect to data and stuff. Then, so last 8 years, no Monday morning blues. Not one day has been boring, and I've enjoyed this journey thoroughly. So, slightly long answer, but I guess I thought I wanted to share my journey.
It's a great story, Gaurav. Thanks. So, continuing on that same topic, uh, so where is the data journey in the game of cricket compared to other sports? For example, Formula One, football. They are very highly technical. Footballers are using GPS. Formula One is entirely driven out of data. So, where is the cricket journey today, and what do you see in the next 2 3 years evolution?
So, cricket is a very unique sport compared to others. So, one of the biggest challenges is that um, it's run by the captain, not by a manager, not by a coach, not by a franchise or anything. It's run by the captain. So it data requires the captain's buy-in if the if it has to flow into the game. Now, even take grassroots levels, right? I'm starting off as a cricketer. I play at my initially I go to a coaching academy in my city, closest to my house. And what happens there? The fact is nobody uses data. You're not exposed to video analysis. You're not exposed to all these things while growing up. So what happens, it becomes very very hard for them to suddenly uh, uh, kind of accept data, learn to read data and video, and make decisions out of it. That is very hard. So cricket, that's why, is very very slow. And the number of teams are very less. Take India for example. You have 8 IPL teams. You have maximum of 30 Ranji Trophy teams, and maybe the national team, right? So you have, okay, even if I take every other age group, men, women, everything, you'll have close to about 50, 60 top level teams, and that's your market size. So when you look at it, obviously, uh, the value of data at the lower out of these 60, if I take a 60 market size, only the 8 IPL teams and the two men and women's team, 10 teams can make maximum use of data with the sample, with the amount of cricket happening, etc. Right? So the sample size is so low. It's a unique sport that way. If you take NBA, you take NFL, you take NHL, you take Formula One, you take other sports in baseball, for example, where analytics even started with the game Moneyball. They play 162 games a year, and basketball they play about 80 odd games, maybe 90, 100, including playoffs, etc. So the amount of data collected and the different data points, like you rightly pointed out about wearable technology, sensors, GPS, the amount of data points collected is so much, and data collection has been made so much more easier by automating stuff, having high cameras, etc. Cricket is lagging behind big time in this aspect, because one, ICC need to allow these regulations to open up so that all these wearable technologies, high sensor, even fielding data is not captured, right? So you need cameras around the ground to track all that. So player tracking, all this has to come. So right now, I would say cricket lags behind like crazy in compared to other sports, and then you can imagine how it is for other sports in India. For example, how much behind they are. So I see this industry to be a very, very um, a growing industry in the next 2 to 5 to 10 years, maybe. There's a lot of opportunity, guys. A lot of opportunities. It's just that we need to educate people. Like I said, if I go to my nearest academy, I need to educate them about data analytics, explain how important it is to use video and data at the grassroots levels, and then we move on from there. Then we identify. If I identify a student in my academy, if it could be more scientific, then hey, this guy plays well. Hey, this guy, I know this guy's father, stuff like that. We need to move from that. So hopefully, in the next 5 to 10 years, all sports in India grows with respect to data and video and technology. And like you said, more infrastructure, more products, more companies invest in this space. Right now, it's the lack of education and lack of knowledge by the decision makers, which is why is preventing a lot of this data boom.
Okay. And switching to slightly technical aspect of it to simplify for the audience, World Test Championship, the point system is straightforward. Everybody understands win, loss, and a draw. But recently they introduced the winning percentage. So help us understand how that is calculated. Who gets how much percentage, and how do we
So
end in the top two?
So actually, that is obviously a stopgap arrangement because of the COVID and the situation we are in. Ideally, there's a lot of problems with the World Test Championship in the way the format is being decided. A lot of teams don't play equal number of matches. England play close to 20 games, Australia play close to 13, 14, and that's how the original schedule was. Now, if you see India, I guess India will be the only team, and I think India and England may be the only teams who actually completed the entire cycle of six series. So each team plays six series. So what they did was they originally it was just you win, you get this many points, you lose, you get don't get anything. If you draw, you get one third of the points allocated, and they used to sum up everything. Everybody played equally, so the more you win, the better you had a chance. Then, because of the pandemic, because they couldn't finish all the series to make it even, no, you can't compare somebody who's played six series to somebody who's played just two or three. So, to circumvent that problem and quickly make sure that the final is held this year so that they don't have to alter too much, they came up with this percentage point system, which is nothing but the number of points you win and upon the percentage of points you contested for. As simple as that. So wins plus draws plus losses, the points you obviously gain through that over the number of points you contested for, simple percentage, and that's what happens, and which is why it's put New Zealand in a good position because they play only two test series, so they just we have to get if they win both, which they won every game at home if I remember right. So that puts them in a good position.
Nice and simply put. Hopefully, our viewers will love this context. Thanks, Gaurav.
Yeah.
So Gaurav, we had Jared Kim on our show a few weeks ago, and he had some really interesting stories about his involvement with the different franchise, etc. So we know that you were part of the West Indies cricket setup in the 2016 World Cup, if I'm not wrong. So give us, some backgrounds, scene about how the preparation of the games work. What is discussed, and how much analytics, matchups, you know, are taken into consideration when teams are developing tactics, etc. So give us a bit of insight around it.
Okay, so let me just give you a more generic example instead of one particular team because I've also worked with the Indian team at the back end with various IPL franchises at the back end, helping the analyst on the ground. So I kind of I'll give you a broader picture so that our viewers and listeners can kind of understand and pick it up. So it varies from team to team. Okay, so imagine you're an analyst of one team, I'm an analyst of another team. Both of us have access to the same set of information. We have access to the same set of data. So how do I differentiate? How can I be better than you or you be better than me? Is how that's why your domain knowledge comes into the picture. So how much the analyst contributes to that aspect of the by looking at data is his own domain knowledge, his understanding of data and storytelling. For example, I'll give you if player A, let's take Johnny Bairstow for example, uh, there is a tendency that people try to bowl leg spin to him early on in the IPL, and they see that they find a weakness. Now, when you actually go and see the stats, uh, his average and strike rates might be very good. So people might think that, hey, this guy is very good. So why are they bowling leg spin? This could be one analyst reading. If I go deeper into that, and I look at the kind of bowlers he has played, there might be five set of leg spinners whom he smashes, and there are five set of leg spinners he plays very poorly. But when you look at numbers as a whole, his average and strike rate will still be high because everything will average out. So then you go deep and see what kind of bowler. So when I done this a couple of years ago, we found out that he smashed a few rookie leg spinners, whereas the really quality leg spinners he struggles against the Chahels and he doesn't play Rashid Khan too much. But when you take say Imran Tahir or someone like that, he struggles. So again, if I just look at Johnny Master as a whole, you'll think that hey, this guy you just bowl leg spin or don't bowl leg spin or whatever. You come up with some reading. So, like this, it varies from team to team. So, it's very important. It's very analyst driven, the knowledge the analyst has. So, if an analyst can unearth such insights, deeper insights, the usage on the field would be more. And as a result, the execution happens and the results happen. You can't. I tell a lot of analysts that we can't measure anything, our data, our insights with results, because we are not going and bowling there, we are not going and batting there. I can give whatever insights I want, but if they don't execute it to the T for a consistent period of time, it's not going to work. So I tell them, like, look, this is a information for you to use. If you go by your gut for plan A, if it doesn't work, you come to my plan as plan B, and we'll see how it goes. If you execute something 10 times, as what data says, if it works even 7 out of 10 times, we are winning. That's how I look at data, that's how I look at analytics. It's not that whatever I say is the right thing or wrong thing. I come up with 10-15 insights per game, and then we choose the best. We choose what is relevant to our team. I can easily go tell them, see, when you look at data, you will see bold bouncers to Gayle. Okay, this is an insight again. But now, if I don't have so when you go deeper into data, you find Gayle struggles against bouncers only those who bowl above 140. So if I don't have 140 plus bowlers in my team, and I go tell, just if I'm an average analyst and I just go and tell the bowler to bowl bouncers at Gayle, he'll get smashed. So those are that's why I said it depends a lot based on the culture of the team, the analyst, the intelligence of the analyst. So based on all these factors, you will see some teams use it more, some teams use it less, and some teams learn. Like West Indies, they found it fascinating that there's so much you can do with data. So they used it. Maybe they didn't have that much exposure before. Whereas if you take Mumbai Indians, they're top notch. They're top notch. They use data to a lot of extent. They have very detailed team meetings, etc. Because the relationship between the captain and the analyst is very strong. So some teams take CSK. They don't really the captain itself is 10 times bigger, better than the analyst or better than a computer. So they don't need. I'm serious here. Dhoni kind of reads the game like what data says. Data says something, and go look at Dhoni. 95% he'll be pretty similar. So yeah, you have different characters. So that's why you can't say that this is the approach. This is what works. Uh, but that's how I see it.